You boys be quiet down there!
Welcome back to Neo Geo Generation. In this series, we've been covering every Neo Geo game in order, but this time we're once again taking time out to look at a new Neo Geo game. So let's dive right in. In October 2019, UK-based indie game studio Bitmap Bureau released their brand new Kickstarter-funded game for Sega Mega Drive. That's the Sega Genesis for those of you in North America. Xeno Crisis, to generally positive reviews. Although developed for the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis, the game was also available on all modern consoles, PCs, and even the Dreamcast. But a year before the Mega Drive version was released, in 2018, a very special new port of the game was announced: Xeno Crisis for Neo Geo. There's been a distress call from a lab in orbit around Jupiter's moon, Io. Apparently, there's some sort of alien activity. You take command as either Marine John Marsh or Sarah Ridley. These two are some of the most experienced Marines on Earth, under Commander Darius. The Marines enter hyperspace, on approach to the research lab. Xeno Crisis is a multi-directional shooter, like Robotron 2084, or Smash TV, and countless modern indie games. It's frantic mayhem for one or two players. The game shows off some very nice graphics for the Sega Genesis, and a kick-ass rock soundtrack from Savage Regime that's tailor-made for Mega Drive, showcasing the audio capabilities of the console's YM2612 sound chip. I adore the soundtrack in this game. Much as it was on the NES, one big secret to making a nice-sounding Genesis soundtrack is good drum samples. And they went with some really high-quality samples here that fit the electronic rock style perfectly. The music tracks have a pretty long running time before they loop compared to most 16-bit soundtracks, and there are multiple boss themes in the game. For the Stage 2 music, they've licensed a cover of the song Treyas from the progressive metal band Sky Harbor. Okay, so back to the reason for this video. By December 2018, pre-orders for the Neo Geo AES, MVS, and Neo Geo CD versions of Xeno Crisis were opened on Bitmap Bureau's online store. We were told the Neo Geo game would have upgrades over the original, features which we will get into shortly. Originally at pre-order, there were standard and limited editions of the AES and MVS versions available, with the standard editions listed at only £199, or about $250 at the time. This is what I bought. Limited edition buyers got an art set and their name featured as a hostage in the game. As of 2021, the Neo Geo cartridge versions are now £299, or about $410, which is steep, but actually isn't quite that bad when you look at new Neo Geo games released by NG Dev Team, which started at €449 for the standard edition of their most recent release, which is about £380, or $520. Bitmap Bureau has stated that due to the current chip shortage, they ended up paying more than double what they were originally quoted for the cartridge components, which led to the price increase. After pre-ordering, then came the waiting game.
Now we play the waiting game. Oh, the waiting game sucks. Let's play Hungry Hungry Hippos.
They originally aimed for a release in Q2 of 2019, but the game suffered several delays due to hardware issues, not to mention one of the two members of the team unfortunately suffering a head injury. 2019 and 2020 passed with occasional progress updates from Bitmap Bureau. They even got the cart shells and cases in stock before the end of 2019. It seemed that coding for the Neo Geo version was more or less done earlier, but the cartridge hardware was the main reason for the delays. The cartridge PCBs had to be redesigned a few times before they were finally ready for manufacturing in mid-2021. Finally, in October 2021, 3 years after the original announcement and 2 years after the Mega Drive release, the Neo Geo version made it into the hands of fans who pre-ordered. So, the bad news. Unfortunately, AES and MVS cartridges of Xeno Crisis shipped with some issues. There's a memory bank selection issue that causes the music to only play from the left channel.
Thank you! Help! Thank you!
Bitmap Bureau was quick to come up with a solution to rectify this, and if you bought the game already, you will be able to ship it to someone who can reflash the cartridge with the corrected data free of charge. In the meantime, if your system has a Unibios, there's a temporary fix to select the correct memory bank to play the right channel audio. Unfortunately, this fix will not work if your MVS is an MV1C board, which is what's in most one-slot top-loading consoleized systems, such as the Omega MVS or Analog MVS. If you own one of these boards, you'll have to wait for your cart to be reflashed before getting stereo audio. I'll be shipping my cart once the service becomes available, since my main consoleized setup is an MV1C. So for AES owners and MVS owners who don't have an MV1C, after booting the game, open the Unibios menu, select Patch Memory, change WR to 01, then change this number to a 2, and this number to a 5. The screen should now look like this. Make sure that Patch is highlighted, and press A. You can now press C to exit the menu. This switches the memory banking so that the right channel music audio can play.
Your mission begins now. Room clear.
The game also shipped with some graphics issues that only affect a small number of one-slot MVS boards, especially the MV1FZ. This will also be fixed by sending in your game. Alright, so now that we have that addressed, we can play. The control scheme has been tweaked to work with the Neo Geo controller. The Sega Genesis version had the option for directional controls if you own a 6-button pad, with 4 of the buttons dedicated to shooting in 4 directions. It would have been nice if they had kept the option for directional controls in the Neo Geo version. If you're using a pad, the layout of the Neo Geo one could have worked well for directional firing. However, 2 additional buttons are needed for rolling and grenades, so those would have had to be relegated to the start and select buttons. Since being able to roll quickly is vital to playing the game, it probably wouldn't have worked very well. Instead, for Neo Geo, the D button is now dedicated to a melee attack. Not really necessary, since the character automatically melees when close to enemies. But the extra button is available, so it's a cool addition. Like in 3-button mode in the Genesis version, while holding the fire button B, you can tap A to rotate your character 1 step left, or C to rotate right. This works okay once you get the hang of it, but the A and C buttons are normally roll and grenade while not holding B. Letting go of B to turn around or roll and use grenades might be the toughest part to get used to. This control scheme works, but it's not ideal. Even though the directional button layout may not have worked well, it would have been nice if they had at least included the option. You can pick up other weapons such as a rocket launcher, homing shot, and many more, but they are time limited and don't quite come up often enough, so you spend a lot of time with the standard machine gun. Most of the special weapons are really fun to use, so it's too bad they don't appear a little more often. One thing most people notice about the game is its difficulty. You get 1 life per continue, and you are able to upgrade your total health points. Enemies can sometimes pop out suddenly from the edges or certain parts of the playfield, which feels a bit unfair. It's true that it's tough, but one thing that can help you use less continues is the life refill at the start of each stage. So if you can just defeat that boss and make it to the next stage without continuing, you get a fresh start. You're also able to upgrade your armor, power, and ammo between stages by spending the dog tags that you pick up during the game. Like in the Genesis version, the game has 2 difficulty levels, easy or hard, but they're both pretty tough. The game could definitely use more variety to the enemies, but there are enough here to get the job done. The scenery and enemies in the stages vary enough to keep things from getting too stale. The level maps are somewhat randomly generated, so you don't end up playing exactly the same game each time. You will play through 7 stages, which feels like a decent length at about 50 minutes to play through the full game. Bitmap Bureau made a point of properly adhering to Neo Geo standards and implementing all the usual features. As such, the game has high score saving and soft dip settings, and unlike NG Dev Team's games, in Xeno Crisis you can use your memory card to start from the last stage you played, or you can pick to start from any of the previous stages. Also unlike NG Dev Team's games, Xeno Crisis plays nice with a Unibios. The Unibios menu is available in-game, and they've even implemented a custom Unibios splash screen. By the way, if you play the game in MVS mode, you'll get this cheeky parody of the winners don't use drugs screen. This screen is also a hint about how to achieve the good ending in the game, which is a very difficult task indeed. Like the Mega Drive version, the Neo Geo version has a hidden backer menu, which can be accessed by putting the cursor on Options in the main menu, holding right B and D, and pressing A. If you bought the limited edition of the game, here you can pick which stage your hostage will appear in. So what advantages do you get when you buy the Neo Geo version over the Mega Drive version? What are the differences? A lot of the upgrades have already been seen in the Dreamcast and modern console releases. You get voice acting in the cutscenes.
Let's give them a warm welcome.
Additional voices during gameplay.
Rebound shot.
More colors, and a splash of scaling graphics here with this pill during the continue countdown. The Neo Geo version supports full arcade features when running in MVS mode, so you can choose to credit feed through the whole game rather than the limited continues of the other versions. You can also save and load the game with a memory card, as mentioned. Due to the differences with continues, the Mega Drive version has the option to buy additional continues, or elixirs as the game calls them, between stages, while the Neo Geo omits this. But if you just want to play through the whole game with unlimited continues, you don't have to buy the Neo Geo version. The Mega Drive one has a cheats menu that will allow you to enable unlimited continues. There are other small differences, but those are the ones I noticed.
That's it?
According to Bitmap Bureau, the Neo Geo version has, quote, hundreds of little refinements, additions, tweaks, and improvements, not only its code, but also in terms of the graphics and sound, end quote. So don't take my word for it. The graphics are for the most part the same as the Mega Drive version, with a bit more color. Since you get nearly the same experience in the Mega Drive version, it goes without saying that the Neo Geo hardware is really not being used to its full potential here. Like the Mega Drive version, the Neo Geo version is a very clean, polished, glitch-free, flicker-free presentation, without any noticeable bugs, other than the audio issue mentioned. And what about that kick-ass Mega Drive soundtrack, programmed with care for that system's sound chip? How does that translate to Neo Geo? Wait, it sounds the same. The music in the Neo Geo game is actually just a recording of the Mega Drive version. The Neo Geo's sound chip is able to play back sampled recordings using a technology called ADPCM. Rather than programming the Neo Geo synthesizer to produce the soundtrack, Bitmap Bureau has opted to have the Neo Geo simply play a recording of the Mega Drive version of the soundtrack instead. Although the music does have stereo sound, it's a shame no one in the fan community has developed better tools to program music on the Neo Geo yet, because until then, the drought of new Neo Geo chiptunes will likely continue. The memory size of the Neo Geo cart is 306 megabits, versus the 32 megs of the Genesis version. The ROM version of Xeno Crisis hasn't been released yet, but I opened the Neo Geo CD version and counted only around 49 megabits total. So I suspect that a large chunk of that 306 megabits is actually music. So with the Neo Geo's soundtrack being just a recording of the Mega Drive's music, how does it compare? Let's go ahead and compare the music sound quality of the original Mega Drive version of the game to the Neo Geo cartridge. The Sega Genesis used for this comparison has a Mega Amp installed, so consider this probably near the high watermark for Mega Drives you'll find. The Neo Geo used here is an MV1FS MVS board. An unmodded Genesis will likely be more muffled or distorted than this, so please take these comparisons with a grain of salt. The intention here is just to show how the Neo Geo version stands up. Depending on your audio setup, you may or may not have been able to tell much difference. Considering it's just a recording of the Genesis version, it sounds pretty darn clear on the Neo Geo. With this type of chiptune music, perhaps full CD quality is not that important. The music holds up well on the Neo Geo. I also ordered the Neo Geo CD version of the game, so let's take a quick look at that now. This is a great design on the CD, kind of a parody of what some officially released discs look like. The CDZ displays a nice custom logo for the game in the main menu. The entire game loads up at boot in 49 seconds on an original Neo Geo CD system and 27 seconds on a CDZ, and the game never stops to load again mid-game. The CD version has the limited credits of the AES version, but like in the AES version, there's a save feature, so you can pick up back from the stage where you died. Like in the Neo Geo cartridge version, the Neo Geo CD has recordings of the music from the Genesis version, except here you get CD quality recordings. So you don't get an arranged soundtrack here in the Neo Geo CD, but you do get full quality music with the same fidelity as if played on an original Mega Drive with good audio. But the music is a bit too loud here in the CD version compared to the voices and sound effects. The audio tracks are louder than in an official Neo Geo CD release. It's amazing they were able to load in so many voices at one time. The game's intro has the voices included in the audio track. However, the cutscenes during the game are missing the voices. What? Why no voices in the cutscenes, Bitmap Bureau? There should have been plenty of room on the disc, but it seems they filled up all the disk space with a lot of repeat tracks in order to try to speed up access times. But it kind of feels like they wasted the space, when they could have easily included the voices for all of the cutscenes and longer stage music. Cyberlip has CD audio tracks for all of the cutscene voices, so it's too bad they couldn't do that here. Other than those small issues mentioned, there really aren't any compromises here with the CD version, and it's still available now for just £30 or around $40 US. It's a decent deal despite some issues mentioned, so the CD version gets a recommendation. Both the Neo Geo cartridge versions and the Neo Geo CD version are still available for sale on Bitmap Bureau's website. If you buy the cartridge now, it will ship with the audio fixes already applied. It's a rare thing indeed for a new Neo Geo game to be in stock for order, so get it while it's hot. In case you don't want to shell out for a physical release, like on the Genesis, they're also offering a low-cost ROM-only version, something more game developers should offer for old systems. First and foremost, if you haven't already, play the Mega Drive version of Xeno Crisis. That's the system the game was originally designed for, and it plays well there. And Savage Regime really knew how to make that Genesis sound chip sing. You get nearly the same great audio fidelity there, and the soundtrack just might be the best part of the game. But if you're still looking for more and you're a Neo Geo fan, or you're interested in playing the game with more arcade-style rules, then check out the Neo Geo version. It's really cool that Bitmap Bureau opted to develop a port of their Mega Drive game, almost as a sort of bonus, out of love for the Neo Geo. They have truly demonstrated their passion and care for the Neo Geo platform, and due to their care, Xeno Crisis actually feels right at home on the Neo. It's a great game, and you can't go wrong with any version. Thank you for watching Neo Geo Generation. Bitmap Bureau has already announced their next game for Neo Geo, Final Vendetta. We don't have any details other than the logo at this point, but I guess next time we talk about a Bitmap Bureau game in this series, it will probably be Final Vendetta. On this channel, we've been going through every Neo Geo game one by one in order, or trying to at least. To keep up with the latest videos, please be sure to subscribe and help the channel by giving us a comment and a like. See you next time. This is Neo Alec signing off.